Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I'm exploring what's happening when you feel good. Because it's really easy, isn't it, to get caught in the trap of really exploring what's happening when we don't feel good, focusing on why we don't feel good, thinking about why we don't feel good. And you may or may not have noticed, but I'm hoping you'll notice after this, that the more you focus on why you don't feel good, the worse you feel, in actual fact, because it's by bringing more and more attention to a not good feeling that we feel more and more of those feelings, become much more aware of them. But we don't do that, do we, when we're feeling good? Well, we sort of do, but we're getting it wrong, as you were about to find out. So I've been on social media over the last couple of days, and I've been noticing a lot of people saying, it's January, it's a bit dark and murky and blah. People talking about the things that they're doing to make themselves feel good. That they're, I find getting outside is good for me, or I find hanging around with people who are positive is good for me, or all sorts of other things like that. So really looking for it outside of us and thinking that it's coming from outside of us. In actual fact, that's not. It might be nice. Like, I'm not saying don't do those nice things that you like doing. I'm not saying don't go for a walk, don't get out in the front. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that there's an ease of accessing the feeling of well-being when we know that it's always there. And doing this particular broadcast came to mind because I a little while ago, quite a long time ago actually, I recorded an episode of the Gina Gardner and Friends show with Gina Gardner, and which you can catch on. You just search for it. You can catch it on radio apps and things. And the conversation was a while ago, and the thing that I most remember about it is that we fell into just such a lovely feeling, both of us, I think. She described it too. Our conversation was really lovely and nice. Why am I using such rubbish vocabulary? Well, anyway, I am. It was such a lovely conversation, and we both fell into this wonderful feeling. And it was just there. It was just something that we both connected to. And this is what I see happened in that conversation. There was a connection between two human beings. There was a tuning back into the oneness. And there was a falling out of our thinking. Gina didn't make me feel calm, and I certainly didn't make Gina feel calm. But because we both fell into the present moment, because we both fell out of our conditioned thinking, because neither of us were thinking about ourselves, we were connecting to each other. We both fell into that natural space that is inside all of us all the time. It's not something that we need to go and get outside of us. It's just there. It's there underneath our thinking. The other place where this is coming up a lot for me at this moment in time, it's come up a lot before, but it seems to have I've really noticed it anyway over the last few weeks, and that is that, if I go to a networking event and I introduce myself as the Queen of Calm and I do my 1-minute pitch or my 2-minute pitch or whatever it is, people will start to type in the chat. I feel calmer now. Oh, it's your voice. You've got a lovely voice. It's really calming. It's really calming listening to you. That kind of thing will go into the chat. And I've started answering that with no. The feeling of calm isn't coming from me. Now, what does happen, perhaps, is, well, this is what I think happens, is that when you're really listening to someone else, and perhaps there's a pleasantness in my voice that means people like to listen to me and tune into that. So that you're listening to my voice because you're just choosing to listen to it. That's you. And because you're really listening to the words coming out of my mouth and maybe watching me on a screen or whatever, or just listening to me, you're not listening to your own thinking. And it was only ever your own thinking that was making you feel stressed or overwhelmed or anxious. So let's say you come into a networking meeting. Perhaps it's not your favourite thing to be pitching to a group of people on Zoom or anywhere else. And so when you're waiting to have your turn, maybe you've just had your turn, you're feeling a little bit riled up, maybe you think you said something stupid, or maybe you've just got a lot on your mind of the other things you've got to do today outside of that networking meeting. But then you tune into my voice. Before you tuned into my voice, you were tuned into your own headspace. You were giving a lot of attention to your own thinking. You were churning things around and whirring things up, and that was being reflected in your body, because that's all the feelings of anxiety and stress are. They're just a reflection of your thinking. And when you paused and listened to my voice for a bit, you fall away, your thinking falls away. It does what it's supposed to do, and it starts to flow again, just pass through. And you can only think about one thing at once. So if you're really listening to me, you won't be thinking about your own thinking. Or rather, you won't be thinking your own thinking. What will be in your space is thinking about my voice and what I'm saying. And that's why you feel better. Because you've fallen away, fallen out of your own whizzed up state of mind. You're present, you're listening to me, and that is why it makes you feel better. And that's really helpful, because what I want you to know off the back of that is that there is nothing outside of you that is making you feel good, just in the same way as there's nothing outside of you making you feel bad. That feeling that you have when you do feel better, it's either because you're just having more pleasant thinking about life in general, or it's because you've fallen out of most of your thinking and you've fallen naturally into the present moment, and it's in those present moments. So, people will say, I go for a walk in nature and I feel better. Well, that's because you are always carrying around that nice feeling. But when you're busy at your desk and your head's busy and you're overwhelmed, you've got lots to think about, you don't feel so good. I feel as good now, stood in front of you, and before this, when I was doing emails or whatever else I was doing. I feel as good when I'm outside going for a walk. I enjoy going for a walk. It's nice. I enjoy being out in the countryside. But I wouldn't have said my levels of calm fluctuate, whether I'm here, doing my email, dealing with a client, doing paperwork, doing bookkeeping. Even now, I can feel good doing bookkeeping. That's a life transformational thing, isn't it? That I actually it doesn't bother me anymore, doing bookkeeping. So what I want you to know is that it isn't outside of you, it's inside you. And When you start to see that more and more, then the nice feeling, the feeling of well-being, becomes available to you. It's always available to you, but it becomes more easily and readily available to you. I get wound up about things. Absolutely. I get upset about things. I get angry about things. I rant about things. Ranting is my thing. But in the moments when I see that I've gone off into an unhelpful train of thought, there's nothing, the only thing that really occurs to me to do is, first of all, stop it. Just stop that train of thought. You don't have to carry on thinking. And, sometimes feel my feet on the floor, take a breath, release my shoulders. That's it. That present moment is always available to you. And really, the only thing you need is an awareness of when you're not in the present moment. And you are supported in growing that awareness once you realise that the feeling, the uncomfortable feeling, is not telling you about the outside world, it's telling you about your state of mind. Once we realise that we're causing suffering with our thinking, it doesn't make sense to carry on thinking that particular way. It really doesn't. It just doesn't make sense. So I hope it's helpful to know that it's always inside you. You don't have to go anywhere else or do anything else to access your feeling of well-being. I promise you it's there all the time. It's who you really are. It's what you're made of. You can fall into that in a moment. Honestly, you can. And you almost do need to stop looking for it outside of you to really see that. You have to believe that it's there. Anyway, I hope you are feeling good, and take care. Lots of love. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.